weekend of a fight that had, you know, ex-professionals rubbing their hands, getting the people coming into the stadiums, Mayweather and the likes of Pacquiao and who else came to watch. It had the build-up of a great fight, almost like a Rumble in the Jungle or a De La Hoya against Mayweather, that kind of fight. And I think that was all because of their unbeaten record, both because they were reaching new heights and because they were concussive punchers both, but they never really had been tested. When I say tested, I don't mean that with disrespect, because Gervonta Davis out of the two has been tested more than Garcia. But everyone was a bit, you know, I won't say, I'm trying to think of the word, that unpredictability on who would win. Would Gervonta Davis be the smaller man? Can he still carry that power to Garcia? Can Garcia coming down weight, can he still carry the power that he fights at with that rehydration clause? It had too much stipulations in the contracts. And what I mean is, he made Garcia bend over backwards, basically, to get this fight on. Now that shows desperation for me. For a 24-year-old unbeaten fighter, 20-0, that smells of desperation. That smells of a guy that doesn't think he can have his, create his own legacy, and that fight will come again, because you see many fights, past and present, that don't get made because of legacy. It's not about money, it's about legacy. It's what damage that fighter can do to someone's career who's coming up. Because there's a saying in boxing that goes like, nobody wants to watch an unbeaten fighter. And I think that's because of Mayweather. When it was the Mayweather era, people wanted to watch Mayweather because he was unbeaten. People wanted to see him get beat. Same with Prince Naseem Ahmed. So you see a lot of fights these days not being made because of that factor. They want to create their own legacy before it gets dented, and they go down the ladder, down the ladder, down the ladder, and there's no more big fights to be made. So I think Garcia took a big risk, and I don't understand why anyone in his corner, from his lawyers to his management to his promoter, would have made Garcia bend over backwards to Gervonta Davis's terms and conditions if they cared about their fighter, long term and short term. They would have said this fight will come again, and it will be even a bigger fight that will do more than 1.1 million pay-per-view sales, that will generate more money. You're still young, both of you, but no, instead they took this fight on. Now I don't think the rehydration clause played a massive part. I'm not going to say it didn't play any part at all, but you can't say that the style of Ryan Garcia had anything to do with his rehydration clause. You can't say the strategy had anything to do with his rehydration clause. Now, you might say, well, what about if they changed the style a bit? Maybe because they wanted to go later in the rounds and take him out because of the rehydration clause. I very much doubt it. I think he come with one task in mind, and that was to, knock out Gervonta Davis, in my opinion. So they need to look at it. Ryan Garcia is a young man. He must have people in his life who care about him. They don't have to be, business-minded people, but he must have people who care about him and says, why would your manager, why would your promoter, and why would your legal team think this was a sensible move? Why? He's 24 years of age. Unless they thought he was going to win this fight, hands up, he was going to win the fight. That's all I can think of. Yeah, they thought he was going to win the fight, therefore we'll take all the risks. It's almost like saying, right, I've got a great horse in this stable, yeah? It's never lost a race, but we're going to throw it in one of the best races in the world, even though it's just come off a cold or a flu. Them chances are going to be slim, no matter how good this horse's record is. because the horse is impaired. Same with Ryan Garcia, yeah? The rehydration impaired him. I don't think it impaired him enough to lose the fight in the fashion he did. I don't believe that. But it slightly impaired him. And when I say impaired him, people think, rehydration, oh, that means it means about weight. It doesn't. When you think about rehydration, it's about how it affects your brain as well. You know what I mean? If you're more hydrated, you're thinking more smarter, you're probably moving a bit faster, things don't feel slower. So basically, when you're dehydrated, your brain isn't functioning at its optimal. I just seen that Ryan Garcia couldn't drink. I'm not having he couldn't drink water, because that's bullshit. He come out with a statement saying he can't drink water 3 days before the fight, and that's bollocks. There's no boxing board of control, whether it's in the UK or stateside, that would sanction that bullshit. Yeah, they wouldn't sanction that. I think there was a level to where he couldn't rehydrate over, because people don't understand that you lose weight, not just fat, not just muscle, but you can lose a lot of weight through water retention. And then you can put it on just by drinking gallons of water. So potentially you could come in 2 stone heavier when you've got your water weight up with a bit of food. So, yeah, anyway, we was talking, and we don't think Ryan Garcia is any Morales, Chavez, Marquez, the Italian-American Aurtor Gatti. The only times he's shown glimpses of an Aurtor Gatti is when he actually got knocked down by Luke Campbell. When he actually got knocked down from Javante Davis for the first time. Yeah, that's the only time he's shown, for me, that he's got the conads. But the only thing that was different from the first fight with Campbell to the fight with Javante Davis was that he didn't have the same mentality coming forward. He just didn't have the same mentality. Once he got knocked down, he was like a rabbit in the headlights. He was in a trance. He only had one method of fighting, and that was keeping a high guard and almost going in survival mode. And I don't understand it. That's where I want to know why he did that. It's like there's a guy now online talking counterpunch, and he said, someone popped up on counterpunch and said, what about if he thought when he took that liver punch, that's enough. If I carry on, I'm going to sustain a lot more injury or pain. Well, it shouldn't be in a boxing ring. You have to have the warrior's code when you're a boxer. You know, when you go in that boxing ring, your channel zone's completely different. It's not like a fight in the street. It's not like a fight in a pub. When you're in that squared circle, it's you against me. And if I don't win, my kids might go on with a dad who's crippled, disabled. And you just got a different mentality. It's like putting a lion in a cage and then letting the lion out run riot. People do say when they get in a boxing ring, it turns them into a different person. And I used to say that when I used to do a bit of sparring or things like that, and I was training to be a boxer at one point. I said, I don't know. I'm this different person. I couldn't inflict this amount of damage on a person in the street if they called me this, called me that. But put a guy in front of me with a pair of gloves on who's coming to take my head off, and it's a different thing. I turn into, this ring is my house and you're an intruder in my house. And it's almost like you're territorial in that ring. And I think Ryan Garcia has lost the territorial way of thinking when he's boxing. And like Counterpunch said, if Garcia had that mentality where he was scared to get hurt, yeah, he should not step foot in a boxing ring again, because no boxer should be scared. Tony Bellew said he doesn't care if he died in the ring, right? And as sad as it sounds, that's the mentality you've got to have in every fight. You've got to have the mentality that if you die or you end up cabbage, yeah, it's the risk you chose to have your career. Same way a soldier will go into war. If he loses a limb or he dies, that's the risk he took. It's the fighter's code. You don't want to become a professional boxer. I think you're going to get out of it with a pretty face. He kept going on about a pretty face. And there's only a few boxers that do come out with pretty faces after it when it's all said and done. No squash nose, no cuts on their eyes. Joe Calzaghe came in a pretty boy, left a pretty boy. because he was very technical gifted, yeah? He didn't leave his head out there, he moved his head. Robin Reid, he was in some bust-ups. The UK Robin Reid, he come out unscathed. Garcia kept going on about, I've not had my nose broke. I'm going to knock him out in round 2. And when you look at it, it's weird that he got dropped in round 2. It's weird his nose got busted for the first time. You know, he's a man of God. Yeah, he's a man of Jesus. I didn't like the way he conducted himself in the press conferences. You never see Manny Pacquiao, who preaches about Jesus. You never seen the Scottish Ricky Burns, who preached about Jesus, saying he's going to do this and do that, do that. Jesus doesn't have any interest, yeah? The only time probably Jesus gets involved is when you have stupid Deontay Wilder. When you have Deontay Wilder say to Tyson Fury, it's your God against my God. And I do believe when you start questioning things like that, there will be consequences. Never question God. So Ryan Garcia, all I can say is, I love the fact that faith is a big thing. But my warning to you, Ryan Garcia, is a very stern warning. Right? Look at Manny Pacquiao's career. Yeah? Look at Ricky Burns' career. When they went too religious with it, they started losing their killer instinct. Yeah? Almost like they wanted their opponent to survive, to get through the 12th round and win on points. And once you lose your killer instinct as a fighter, and that's one tool that you depend on because you're not the most technical gifted or tactical gifted fighter, you lose your killer instinct. So, you're either going to be a preacher or you're going to be a boxer. Right? I'm not saying you can't say thanks to Jesus Christ before a fight. You can't say thanks to Jesus Christ after the fight or praise to Jesus Christ. But with the same breath, you lose that killer instinct. Right? Conduct yourself as a humble man. Especially if this is the word, the words you're saying. Okay? Conduct yourself. Don't waste energy. Don't predict things that are out of your hands. Because in this fight in particular, it come back tenfold. The things you said you was going to do to him, he did to you. The things you said you never had, a broken nose or a bloody nose, you got. So be careful what you spit out, is what I'm trying to say. I mean, I know it was all hype, I know it was to sell fights and things like that. But don't be all lovey-dovey after the fight. Don't be exchanging numbers, Ryan Garcia. Don't be looking an absolute twat, Ryan Garcia. If you lose in that fashion, you get the fuck out of the ring and you reevaluate everything. Did they have the right fucking coach in my corner? An old De Guzman or De Guman? I thought, where they got that ex-fucking rock band artist from? If you need a father figure in your life, keep him in your corner, giving you water. Keep him in your corner, doing some fucking Vaseline. Yeah? You need someone that switches you on. You was in a flow state, and you was in that flow steady state, you wasn't even in a fucking fight. Even if Garcia, boom, knocked you down and you got up, you wasn't in a fight. I remember my first professional spar, and it was many years ago now, and my trainer actually had pads, boxing pads, but they were gloves. So he's doing the pad work with me, and he twatted me on my head. Right, I thought, what the fuck's he just done, the knobhead? And he sent stars in my head. And I remember I had a mark off the glove, like a red thing. He seen something in me that wasn't switched on. Yeah, he seen something that fucking wake up. Your time's now. It's now or never. And I got through that spar quite good. Now, Ryan Garcia didn't have anyone in his corner that could fucking snap him out of whatever he was thinking in his head or what he wasn't thinking. There was no one telling him where he was going wrong. All De Guzman said, if that's his name, De Guzman, he turns round and says, watch out for the uppercut. Fucking hell. Did it take 4 fucking rounds to realise Gervonta Davis' uppercut's dangerous? Wow. Don't tell me that Chinese sparring partner, if he's Chinese, was a mole. You get moles in all fucking walks of life. He would have had moles 10 years ago that still tell people how he spars. Things don't change overnight. So don't give me the rehydration clause. Don't give me the fucking mole in the fucking camp. Yeah? It come down to, when it's all said and done, you didn't have the Mexican conads. Chavez Jr. has more Mexican conads than you. Right? And that's the truth of the matter. Yeah? People slagged Kell Brook off when he fought Triple G. Yeah? Let me tell you, that Triple G fight was a massive step up for Kell Brook. I think he went up to middleweight from welterweight. Right? And for 5 to 6 rounds, Kell Brook put it on him. And I mean, he's just trained for 6 rounds. He at some points he hurt Triple G with some good shots. And then he's blown his gasket. And then the bigger man has started dictating the fight and hurting him. Right? So he knows he's not going to win if it goes past 6 rounds. Then he has damage to the eye socket and he goes down. And you got dickheads like Tony Bellew from the UK criticising the very own UK Kell Brook for quitting. At first, I thought he quit, but I'm not going to be on TV scrutinising him straight away, especially if that's the field I'm in. I'm not going to scrutinise him. I'm going to wait till all the fucking evidence comes out. We see the and we see what damage comes. It's not like he was clean shaven and not a bruise on him, like Garcia. I mean, everyone's looked for all the fucking excuses under the book for this. They're telling me it's a liver shot when he got hit here. I'm sure that's your fucking lungs, right? And you've got people like K9 Boxing talking shite. I expect better from K9. I've got so much respect for K9. But to come out with it was a great liver shot. Yeah? For Tony Bellew to come out with it was a great liver shot. I think these people blow some fucking smoke up people's asses. I really fucking do. And I think that punch now, they've even put a sound effect on it to make it look like it was a killer blow. They put a fucking sound effect on it. And they've enhanced it and fucking amplified it. I know what I've fucking seen. Right? If the fucking second round knockdown didn't knock him out, how the fuck do you expect me to believe a shot like that with no hip rotation, no back foot front rotation, and no conversion of power knocked him down and knocked him counted out? The guy got fucking hit in the second round, flush knocked down, didn't see it coming, and was a double impact punch. He threw a punch, he missed, and he got clobbered on the fucking head. And he got up, so he's shown some chin. That guy's shown some chin. But what he didn't show was the Mexican conads that Mexican fighters are about. So never mention Ryan Garcia with the same breath of Aurtor Gatti, Chavez, Morales, Barrera. Yeah, never mention him with them, right? And I think I'm going to go on that. There was something that came in my brain before I wanted to go. But there was a story about Aurtor Gatti. You knock him down, he gets up. But if he knocks you down, you're not getting back up. You can't say that about Garcia anymore. He can come back. He needs to do a lot of work. And when I say a lot of work, I mean he has to go to the drawing table. And he needs to get someone who shows that fucker how to move. No head movement will only get you so far. Power will only get you so far. Mike Tyson had it fucking all. Head movement, power. The only thing he lacked was leverage, right? Because his boxing IQ was fucking amazing. The only thing that let Mike Tyson down was, they say Mike Tyson was 6 foot. He wasn't fucking 6 foot. He's about 5'10", 5'11". And he had short levers. And he was in an era of boxing where your heavyweights were fucking giants. He wasn't in the era of Rocky Marciano, and I'm a massive fan of Rocky Marciano, as you can see. So Rocky Marciano, you know, he got away with it. If he was in Tyson's era, would he have been unbeaten? Because, you know, it's not the same getting it off a 15, 16 stone heavyweight back in the day. You're now getting it off fucking 19, 20 stone men. So, you know, there's a big difference there. So like I say, Mike Tyson is the prime example where power, speed, precision and head movement isn't just what you need. Mike Tyson even had a bit of footwork for a big heavyweight, well, stocky heavyweight. Where the fuck is Ryan Garcia? Footwork. Where the fuck is his head movement? Right? Who the fuck trained him for this fight? Why did he take a step backwards? You're supposed to have evolution going on. Right. Before I go, why did Ryan Garcia turn from professional to amateur boxing style? Amateur boxing style. Right? This guy is a concussive puncher. Go and search 10 fucking knockouts. Any random fucking 10 knockouts. Prince Nazim. Wasn't just a showboater. David Hay. Right? Rocky Marciano carried his hands low. George Foreman. Do you want me to name a few? Right? Go and look where their fucking carriage of hands were when they deliver a knockout punch. It's not from fucking here. It's not from here. Right? So why would you develop that strategy from the word go and carry it to the 7th fucking round? Where they all fucking smacked out their faces and no one said, Garcia, switch it up. It's not fucking working. It's not fucking working, and it won't work this fight, and it won't work in 10 fucking times fight against the same opponent. Right? How embarrassing for a fucking lengthy guy like Garcia getting out jabbed by someone who looks merely 5'2", 5'3". Right? How's he getting out jabbed? Because when you talk about height, I'm about 5'4", 5'5". And I sparred a guy called Kieran Mayo. If you think I'm chatting shit, go and message Kieran Mayo. Unbeaten in 9 fights, British champion, welterweight, ABC champion. And I sparred him at Ricky Hatton's gym for 3-4 rounds. For the first 2 rounds, he didn't have a fucking clue what I was doing because I was so unorthodox. He'd never seen it. He'd only been an amateur boxer. So he'd never seen a switch hit or he'd never seen someone who was fucking as reckless as me. But by round 3, his amateur style and all them ABC titles and fighting for England came into play. Then the 6'2" welterweight was jabbing the fuck out of my head. Right? Where I was trying to get near him. I was eating a jab or 2. I was eating 3 jabs by the end of it and landing a shot. So I'm not putting Kieran Mayo in the same boat as Gervonta Davis or putting me in the same boat as Gervonta Davis. But you've got to work to your what's the word I'm looking for? Advantages, not your disadvantages. Right? It's as simple as that. Game plan. Box off the back foot, jab him, make him work. You know, Garcia said before the fight, Davis has the lowest input in fucking punches thrown. And ironically enough, in that fight between the two, Garcia had the lowest input he's ever fucking thrown in a fight. So, the guy who predicted round 2 got twatted in round 2. The guy who predicted he's never been hurt in the face with a bloody nose. And the guy who's talked about the lowest input in a fucking boxing match had the lowest input of his fucking career. Stop fucking focusing on stats and records. Records are for DJs and records are to be broken. You need a fucking motivational speaker, mate. You need someone like me. Stop going on all these fucking Logan Paul shit. If you want to be, you know, a YouTuber, that's fine. I'm sure you could go down the KSI route or fucking whoever else is on the market now. Maybe you could do a charity fucking boxing match with fucking Tommy Fury. Right? But I believe, hand on heart, you have the credentials to be a great fighter. But where do you go from here is what you need to ask yourself. Because once you're a damaged fighter, it doesn't mean damage where you've fucking been concussively knocked out and then you have to have a brain scan to see if you can fight again. But where do you go from here, Ryan? Right? You've got to look at it now. Because people in your corner, people in your family should be telling you what I'm fucking telling you. See you later.